Congratulations! The big news is being discussed as President Trump has proposed $2,000 tariff dividend checks for 2026. We are just a few days away from 2026, which means there's a possibility that a new check could be issued next year. President Trump says Americans could expect $2,000 refund checks using revenue generated from tariffs. Millions of Americans are watching closely because Trump has publicly proposed this plan. So, could we get the check right after New Year? We have some very important and interesting details to share with you. President Donald Trump doubled down on his bold proposal to distribute $2,000 tariff dividend checks to most Americans, assuring supporters that the payouts are on track, just not in time for the holidays this year. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump painted a picture of fiscal relief tied directly to his aggressive trade policies. "It will be next year," Trump said plainly, addressing the timeline head-on. So, we finally have the timeline. These checks are coming in 2026. We're already approaching mid-December, which means just days from now, we'll be in the year when these checks could start rolling out. This is huge. But you need to understand there are two versions of when this could actually happen, either right after New Year's or sometime in the middle of next year. Here's exactly what President Trump said during a recent cabinet meeting. "We're going to be giving a nice dividend to the people in addition to reducing debt. As you know, I inherited a lot of debt, but it's peanuts compared to the kind of numbers we're talking about. So, we're going to be making a dividend to the people, and additionally, we're going to be able to reduce debt." But then he said something even bigger. As time goes by over the next 2, 3, 4 years, those numbers are going to go up. And I believe that at some point in the not-too-distant future, you won't even have income tax to pay. Trump is not just talking about a one-time $2,000 check. He's talking about potentially eliminating income tax entirely by using tariff revenue. These are massive claims, and millions of Americans are watching closely to see if action follows these words. Let's talk about why this $2,000 check is so critical right now. According to a recent report from Gallup, grocery prices are up 21% in the past 3 years alone. That means the $100 you spent at the grocery store 3 years ago now costs you $121 for the exact same items. Americans are struggling to afford 3 meals a day for themselves and their families. According to analysts, Trump is also motivated by recent election losses that Democrats leveraged by focusing on affordability issues. He's looking to regain trust with the American people ahead of next year's midterm elections. Whether you agree with the politics or not, the bottom line is this: Americans need this money, and Trump says he's going to deliver it. Who actually gets this $2,000 check? Based on Trump's statements and previous similar proposals, here's a breakdown of eligibility. Income limit. According to Trump's Truth Social post, the check will go to everyone except high-income people. Based on the American Worker Rebate Act proposed earlier this year, that income threshold is expected to be $100,000 or less. If you make $100,000 or less annually, you should qualify for the full $2,000. Working families. If you're a parent working one or multiple jobs trying to keep food on the table and a roof over your head, and you make under $100,000, you're in. Seniors on Social Security, whether you're receiving retirement benefits, SSDI, or SSI, you're expected to qualify, even if Social Security is your only income, and you don't normally file taxes. Veterans. If you're receiving VA benefits or a military pension and your income is under the threshold, you qualify. People with disabilities. If you're on disability benefits through Social Security, you're included, regardless of whether you file taxes or not. Low-income households. Even if you make zero income and file taxes with zero, you can still receive this check. The important part is filing a tax return. Unemployed individuals. If you've lost your job and your income is under $100,000, you should qualify. Citizenship requirement. This is different from pandemic stimulus checks. Trump has stated clearly this check will go to U.S. citizens only. During the pandemic, some green card holders and other immigrants qualified. This time, non-citizens will not be eligible based on current information. This includes green card holders, asylum status, temporary visas, undocumented immigrants. But here's the reality. This $2,000 check needs congressional approval. Trump cannot issue this payment on his own. There must be a bill. It has to pass both the House and the Senate. Then Trump signs it into law. Earlier this year, Senator Josh Hawley introduced the American Worker Rebate Act for $600 payments, and it didn't even get debated. So, how will a $2,000 check pass if a $600 check didn't? Some Republicans are pushing back, saying we can't afford it with the national debt at $37 trillion. But Trump says this money is coming from tariff revenue, not borrowing. He claims tariffs on foreign goods can fund the checks and reduce the debt. However, the Congressional Budget Office recently reduced tariff revenue projections, raising doubts about whether there's enough money. Also, the Supreme Court will soon rule on whether Trump had the authority to impose certain tariffs. If that power is struck down, the funding model could collapse. Still, there's strong public support. A new Neapolitan News Service poll shows 71% of voters support the $2,000 tariff dividend checks. That's a massive majority, and it creates pressure on Congress to act. Timeline possibilities: January, February 2026. If a bill is introduced and fast-tracked, a vote could happen by late January or February. Checks could begin soon after. March-May 2026, a more realistic timeline includes debates in early 2026 and first payments by April or May. Mid-late 2026, if political fighting or delays occur, it could take until summer before any checks go out. Important note: there is no bill introduced yet specifically for this $2,000 payment. Trump has repeatedly discussed it, but it remains in the promise phase until legislation exists. Key differences versus pandemic. Stimulus. Funding source: pandemic checks came from borrowed Treasury funds. These would come from tariff revenue. Citizenship. Pandemic checks included some non-citizens. These are citizens only. Income threshold. Pandemic checks phased out at $75,000. This proposal uses a $100,000 cutoff, possibly recurring. Trump hinted at quarterly payments depending on future revenue. Here's what you should do now to prepare. File your taxes. Even if you earn zero or are on fixed income, file a tax return for 2025. That's how the IRS knows where to send the money. Update IRS info. Make sure your direct deposit details and mailing address are current at irs.gov. Verify citizenship. Make sure your Social Security records reflect your citizenship if you're naturalized. Watch for scams. The IRS will never call or text you asking for payment or personal info. Ignore and report any scam calls. Contact lawmakers. Call or email your senator and representative. Tell them you support the checks. Plan ahead. Think about how you'd use the $2,000, whether for rent, car repairs, groceries, or an emergency fund. Don't count it until it's real. Be hopeful, but don't base financial decisions on money you don't yet have. Who's likely excluded? High earners. If you make over $100,000, you may not qualify. Non-citizens, including green card holders, visa holders, undocumented immigrants, people who don't file taxes. The IRS can't send money if there's no return on record. Those with debts to government. Payments could be garnished for taxes, child support, or other debts. What we know for sure: Trump supports $2,000 tariff dividend checks. He's mentioned it publicly in multiple venues. The timeline is for 2026, which is just days away. No bill exists yet. Congress must approve it. 71% of voters support the idea. Final advice: stay hopeful but realistic. Make sure your tax records are current. Don't make financial promises based on this check until it's passed and the money is in your account. If it doesn't happen, there are still other benefits and programs to explore. Keep pushing, stay informed, and protect yourself.